I love to see my people partying with me, man. Good to see you, Black Brown, Sweet Nikita, Miss Rhonda. Hey, happy birthday, Miss J. Hey, Rhea, Sweet Sharita. Party with me all night long. Say what? That's right, baby. Bring it to the front. Hey, Janine. Well, guess what? Hey, when I see you there, I get a little happy. Hey, Black Brown, I get a little happy when I see you. What? Baby, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Francine, I get a little happy when you party with me. Well, guess what? When I see you, yeah. Hey, Jay, hey, Randy, I get happy when you party with me. Guess what? When I see you, yeah, yeah. Hey, Cole, I get a little happy. Happy when I see you. What? When I see you, yeah. Listen, fellas, I put your picture on my mirror. Start to blush when somebody says your name. And my stomach is a pain. See you walk in my direction, I go the other way. I start to stutter when I speak. Try to stand, but my knees go weak. What's happening to me?
What's up, everybody? Welcome. Come on in.
Tell me what it means. I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window. Was gonna stop for a sign. That's the reason why. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, see you. Hey,
what's up, good people?
You sexy boy. Hey. Oh, no.
No, we are fully live. We are fully live. Come on in. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Hey, fellas, listen. I scribble X and O's on my notebook. Checking how my hair and my nails look. I feel myself up in the zone. I get nervous when you call. Say a lot.
I just like when we set the tone
I
like
hear
this.
my
That's all.
favorite song. Should I send an email at home? I wonder if you know, or do you have a clue? Yeah, I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window.
No, I'm just showing the song again. This is my favorite. One of my favorites.
That's the reason why, yeah.
Maybe my current favorite go-go band.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my favorite renditions.
See you, yeah. Marlon, so sexy boy. Oh, no. When I see you. Listen, something now is
And by the way,
taking
to me,
over me.
Go-Go in the Pocket is part of Bunny
Oh,
Solution.
yeah. I'm not gonna run. I'm just gonna stand here and see. Oh, yeah.
Always on my mind.
See you.
Well, we have to figure that out. We have to figure that out.
Sexy boy. Yeah. Oh, no.
But as long as they get together like this,
When I
just
see
playing.
you. Hey, Fox, hold me down. Listen. Well, guess what? When I see
you ever miss anything, just greeting
Hey,
everybody.
Lisa,
Because when I see everybody, I get a little happy.
get happy when you party with me. Hey, Janine, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Tony, I get a little happy when you party with me. Hey, Tim, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Marlon, I get a little happy when you party with me. Hey, Jay, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Nico, I get a little happy when I see you. What? Hey,
Everybody get a little
when
bit of.
I see you, yeah. Hey, Playboy, I I get a little happy. What? Happy when you party with me. Hey, hey, when I see you.
All right, everybody, here we go. Let's go.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
All right, good people. Welcome everybody. I just like to set a little tone there, little good mood, little starter there. DC Vibe at DC Vibe if you want to catch up with them. w.e.b. Greetings, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me just get started from this point here, and then we can go and we'll see how long folks want to go and what. But there are a couple things that I wanted to respond to, or just one thing I would like to put on the table. So for me, solutions to the problem facing Black people, brown people, all oppressed people, any group, but particularly Black people, does involve expanding from already existing national, racial, geographic identification and organization and radicalizing that. I think we should be involved in collective radical media work like we're doing here at BPM. I think we should be involved in various radical grassroots organizing like is often reflected in the audience of this platform. I think we should be involved in radical electoral political efforts like the after party linked in the show description, previous discussions about that. And that is basically following Malcolm X's last expression of the way Black people should engage electoral politics. Running our candidates on our platforms with supporting people and parties specifically designed to advance the efforts of Black people. From there, radical solidarity with other organizations, other communities, other groups on the basis of these advancingly progressive and radical agendas is exactly what I think is necessary. And then a lot of it is also involves off the record, off camera, off video, off mic organizing. And the very difficult work that I have only passingly dealt with, that most others have spent no time doing, and that those who do that work often and all the time don't have enough support in. What often and what sort of spawned my interest in doing this and in starting this discussion, I'm just going to leave it there for now because I don't want to actually fully dominate the discussion. I'm hoping some of you will either join me on camera or in the chat, offering up your views and responses, because I would like to have this be at least a part one of a created sort of video document that in sort of in one place houses, because increasingly, I mean, well, not just increasingly, I mean, historically, this has been the primary response to criticism of my work. So as I put here the other day on Instagram, quote, "Then what do we do is not a refutation of my arguments against entrepreneurialism, banking, investment, etc." And this is often what people say to me when they get upset with a critique or a view or something that I've done in, again, my narrow, limited bit of work. And what I'm saying is, I'm not offering a solution. I'm just simply saying, in terms of buying power, Black capitalism, that's not a solution. It's not even the survival programs pending revolution that the Black Panther Party was calling for in terms of their electoral political efforts and their pooling redistribution efforts. What my argument is, and I think I've demonstrated, is that the pending revolution part has been erased and been replaced with Black capitalism and entrepreneurialism is the solution. And simply telling me that I don't have something that is better or more acceptable for that particular person who responds that way is not a critique of my argument. So I wanted to start there. Then the other place I wanted to start with is from the video I just did yesterday, I think, or the other day, on about Du Bois's comments about cooperatives. So, and I want to pull up some of the criticism that has already come from that, and I just think it says a lot about. I'm going to find these. There were two that came back to back that I just want to pull up here quickly, that I think are perfect places to start, but that are missing the point of what at least what I'm trying to do here. By the way, let me just get this out of the way first. And it was amazing that this was brought to my attention, and shout out to Kali Akuno for doing that. And he'll be joining us at some point to build on this farther. The video about Du Bois being critical of cooperatives was not targeting Cooperation Jackson, was not targeting any particular group. And as I made clear in the video, and as I've made clear in my entire body of work, I'm targeting the idea, not any one person, individual, or organization. So sometimes people don't realize that these videos that I am producing here are sometimes one-offs, sometimes they're episodic. And if you're just popping up intermittently and finding something that you don't like without considering the broader discussion and argument, et cetera, and work, it might be confusing to you. Although even within that one encapsulated video, there was nothing in there that was saying anything about Cooperation Jackson. And I think, but the other point to my point is, I think whenever I've had an issue with a group or an individual, there's no surprise, there's no secret, it's not personal for the most part. And it's not even broadly speaking about the entire entity or person's work. It's about this one specific point. But in that case, I had nothing to say about Cooperation Jackson. So I'm happy to have, and I'm glad Kali reached out, and he didn't think that, by the way, but it was just to, and he'll be joining us as soon as he's available. So, I mean, I don't, as he has in the past, but anyway, so I just want to be clear about that. So that was wild to me. But this is one comment that I got here that sort of speaks to my point. Yet again, and again, D1 beats, so I don't even know who this is, but again, that's all right. Yet again, this is where I have to disagree with Dr. Ball's approach. You, on the one hand, criticize those who opt to practice Black capitalism, entrepreneurship, or investing as a solution, and now try to dismiss cooperatives as one of the few economic alternatives as a solution, including throwing shade at Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, and Dr. Jessica Gordon Emhard's work without providing his own solutions alternatives. I'm going to address his political solution below. So first of all, everything here is wrong. Every single thing said there in that comment is wrong. Literally every single thing. So first of all, I don't on the one hand criticize Black capitalism and on the other hand criticize cooperatives. I equally criticize them both for not being solutions to the problem of Black material inequality, and B, I only criticize the concept of Black capitalism, in addition to point A, for being intentionally cultivated and propagated by established power to specifically distract Black communities from radically organizing, theorizing, activizing, or becoming active in ways that are unsanctioned, specifically to avoid communism, socialism, Pan-Africanism, and other forms of militant isms that the state is not interested in. And by state, I'm broadly speaking the government, political, economic, racial, gendered elite, etc. Second of all, I am not dismissing cooperatives, certainly not in the way that I've dismissed Black capitalism. I've simply said that cooperatives are not the ultimate solution, and was using that video to demonstrate the fact that Du Bois had reached the similar conclusion by 1960 based on his experience having tried cooperatives. Now, this is where my criticism, to the extent that there is any, of Doctors Wilson and Gordon Nemhard comes in. Because as again, I demonstrate, it's not, and I'm not throwing shade. So let's clarify that. It is not throwing shade to, particularly from what I think is a left perspective, showing specific and limited flaws in these folks' arguments that are illustrative of my own focused topic and issue, that is the false narratives created and propaganda created around Black people's conditions economically. Specifically, and again, as I've showed, and I'm happy to talk more about and get more into, both Doctors Wilson and Gordon Nemhard focus on a moment in Du Bois's life in the 30s and 40s where his experimentation with consumer power, buying power, and collectives, cooperatives was his mission. Each Wilson and Gordon Nemhard use that fact or use that moment to support their arguments around why cooperatives will work for Black people today. And yet each of them ignore Du Bois's own conclusions on that exact issue when he concludes later in life that having tried that, it's not going to work. We don't have the ability to do it. And then socialism is the conclusion. Now, I only played, again, 1 minute or so of video, which oddly got copyrighted. So someone has copyrighted Du Bois's speech, which I think is funky and should be illegal. But I put the link in for people to hear the whole speech, and then of course people could go read all of his work on these and related subjects, because again, he wrote constantly and endlessly for his entire life. So to say that because I'm demonstrating what I think is an error, and not I think, it is an error in their work on this one issue, that is not throwing shade, and it is not me saying that these are bad people, that their overall everything is this and that. I'm not doing any of that. So that's just unfair. But again, I want to come back to the fact that even claiming that I'm throwing shade is not itself an argument or refutation of my argument. It's just saying I'm doing something that I'm not doing. So then this person continues, it is obvious, at least to those of us who's involved in this work, that government is needed to redistribute wealth and resources to the people. But again, as I've stated before, without capital, you cannot fund a political campaign or organization for change, including a revolution, which we do not have the funds to do against the power structure. Again, even if that was specifically related to my own comment, it's something I disagree with, and it's not, I don't even know. Okay, all right. Okay. First of all, we don't need money, and that part is the mythology. If people are organized, if people are doing all of the things that people would come to learn to do and decide to do once in organizations and off cameras and mics, this issue of money could be made moot. It could be made moot. But more specifically, and all I'm saying in that particular video is that Du Bois was saying cooperatives don't work, we need socialism, and then he ultimately leaves the country and becomes a citizen of Ghana. Again, I'm not saying you have to agree with that. I'm not saying you have to disagree with that. All I'm really saying is, if you're going to argue that if you're going to use Du Bois's prior experimentation with cooperatives as an argument for why we should do it today, I think you then have to at least acknowledge that he himself said that that wouldn't work, and then demonstrate why he was wrong and why he didn't understand why today's conditions are different or whatever. I think you have to do something other than what I see in this case, Doctors Wilson or Gordon Nembhard do. So it is not me throwing shade. It is not a diss. I have on several occasions either built with Dr. Gordon Nembhard, having shared time at the University of Maryland at the Democracy Collaboratives in similar spaces with her, having had her on my previous radio show, having sent her the early drafts of my Buying Power book and invited criticism, having reached out on a number of occasions, inviting this conversation publicly or privately. So it's I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying we have a disagreement on this issue, and that was my only point. All right. There was this other comment right after this by Tepfira. It's a no for me on this one. So many holes here. What is meant by didn't work? Also, why dismiss stopgaps as non-revolutionary if they are on the lengthy path it takes to get there? Does not socialism necessitate cooperation? Having been programmed to not work together, strategic ways to work together become revolutionary. What government are we supposed to cooperate with? LOL. USA? Until we have our own, we cannot discount ways of survival within the system. Again, I don't disagree with much of that, and I didn't say anything about any of that. But I'll start with how this comment ends, because I think this is the important part. Most of the people, and I'm not in Dr. Gordon Nembhard's book, having even gone back to look at it again this morning, she's not arguing. She references the Black Panther Party survival programs, but only to make a point about their use of cooperatives to build her ultimate point, along with many other references historically, to say that cooperatives can in fact build wealth today and help recirculate the dollar today. I disagree with all of that. So in that sense, Dr. Wilson, I think, is in a different situation on this point. But most people who pick up the argument about cooperatives and collectives and buying power and Black businesses, most of them are not overtly acknowledging publicly that this is part of a pending revolution survival program. So this is why, by the way, Cooperation Jackson would be immediately off the table in terms of my critique here, if I was critiquing them or anyone. My point is that most people are, I think this is kind of if not a straw, sort of a false claim, an unsupported claim, because most of the work that I'm critical of is specifically not talking about pending in fact, that's the point about my work, the use of the propaganda in the title and everything. I'm saying the propagated messaging has been used to walk us away from other alternatives, and to say that Black capitalism and even cooperatives are themselves the final goal or solution. They're not being delivered to us and argued to us as pending revolution survival programs. So, and again, when Tepfira says there are so many holes in that argument, again, it was a 1-minute clip from a much longer speech from a man who, whatever you think about his arguments, had been making arguments for 100 years. In a video to a much lesser extent, from a man who has made however many videos and however many whatevers and written however much on this subject and others about where I think and we think things should go. So to take an already narrowly focused argument and reduce it further to say that this is all that I'm saying, or that Du Bois was saying, even more crazy, is again, I don't. But my real point is that I think, and then I'll stop here and I'll jump in the chat and we can go, and I'll put the link in if people want to join me up here. But this is what I'm saying is the issue. I think whether it's an issue of class consciousness or sort of political pessimism, not Afro pessimism, don't get but political pessimism. The response is, if I can't invest and save my money and circulate my dollar and have you spend your money with me as a solution, then I don't want to do anything else. Engaging the electoral political system without money, or engaging politics at all without money, or without even a focus on the vote, that's too scary. And most of the reason for that is that people are engaging this from individual disorganized spaces. So they're not even emboldened by a crew of like-minded comrades to take a stronger position or to elevate, as I would humbly put it, their analysis. The other part of it is just a crass class bourgeois desire to be where others are. It's not to destroy and dismantle what exists and to build a new, maybe ill-defined, undefined future. It is to just be part of what is happening here in a better way. Again, it's not fair to project that onto me, and it's not fair to project that onto my critique, and it's not fair to project that onto the data and the analysis that I'm working with, to simply say that I don't have a solution, or I don't care about this, or I'm hating on that, or I'm throwing shade on that. That's just not. So in other words, because I'm not offering the solution you like, you say that I don't have a solution. And what is really, I think, at play here is that, as I sort of teased in the clickbaity cover photo, you're scared of revolution. You're scared of what, as I am. You're scared of what the solutions really are, as I am, but I'm admitting it. That's why I admitted the Buying Power book is the weakest political public argument I've ever made. It's the softest, least inspiring argument I've ever argued for. When I was arguing for an underground distribution of unsanctioned mixtapes, I felt way better about the solution I was offering than what I offer in a book that concludes vaguely, intentionally achieving political power, which most people then assume I'm just saying, vote for a Democrat and work that system the best way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying something very different, but how we get there is something that isn't for a YouTube. It's not for a chat. It's certainly not for a comment or an IG exchange. So, but that's what people are not, that's what most people are afraid of. They're afraid of that hard work that you get no credit for, that people don't even remember. And you come back later in your 50s, hate that people don't even remember what little you did, want to ignore what little you did. Yeah, it sucks. But that's not a refutation of my argument. So all I've ever said about the buying power argument, now I really will stop, is that is that if we want to get to some advanced level, these mythologies have to be corrected. And some of the errors in the analyses, I think, can be or should be challenged. But anyway, all right, okay, all right. So that was it. Let me start here. Obviously, thank you, Sounds of Saying Elsewhere. Check out the email I sent you about unionizing beyond the law. Tried making a YouTube comment, but it didn't seem to allow me to include links. Okay, thank you very much. Lucretia, thank you for the super chat. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you again. Peace, everybody. I missed the 2-year celebration live, but watched the replay. Happy anniversary. I'm glad I'm here. Yes, and welcome. We're glad you're here as well. Thank you very much. Right on. So anyway, I guess that was it. That was really it. If you have a specific question or comment, please repost it or restate it. And I will, let me, if anybody wants to jump up here, I'll put the link to the studio in the chat now. Otherwise, maybe it's just going to be shorter than I thought. That didn't take as long as I thought. Did I go through all my notes? I did. Speaking of solutions, we're going to be talking about George Jackson tomorrow. First 66 pages of Blood in My Eye. on Guerrilla Intellectuals University. But I know that's right. Well, I'm scared. I don't mind admitting that. Uh, but that don't mean it's wrong, and that don't mean that fear is overcomable. Anyway, Danielle, what's up, Danielle?
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's
So,
up?
thank you so much for hosting this live and having this discussion. So, I guess I'm trying to understand because even when you say you don't have people that are part of like-minded, there's not an organized something going on where these things can be addressed and worked upon. Is that not a cooperative? If people are getting together in an organized fashion to work towards a certain goal, is that not a cooperative?
Sure, but specifically, so thank you for the question. Very good question. But just to be clear, and I'm just going to mute you for the quick moment that I'm talking, then I'll unmute you and let you come back. But just to be clear, what I am saying is, when I'm talking about cooperatives, I'm talking specifically about the economic cooperatives that are written about by people like Dr. Gordon Emhard and a little bit by Amos Wilson. And they're referencing the specific consumer and business cooperatives that Du Bois had advocated and tried to develop so that Black businesses and Black consumers could more or less circulate and pool their resources to take care of each other's interests and needs and build an economic power base. Du Bois would eventually realize that that wasn't going to do it and advocate for something bigger. Others would go in different directions, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not talking about just any cooperative action, which of course is good. And I'm not even saying those economic cooperatives are themselves bad. I'm just saying they're not that grand solution. All right, let me stop. Go ahead.
Okay, and so your issue is, so you're not against having cooperatives working towards different things collectively. Your issue is taking one particular thing, such as a cooperative in and of itself, as a form of addressing our problems, or buying Black as one particular thing, as if those things in and of itself is going to solve the issues of Black people. That is what you're critiquing.
So if everybody was as clear, for instance, as the Panthers or others were, that these are pending revolution survival programs, and we're building towards an overtly understood broader radical politics. Du Bois was arguing socialism. I'm somewhere in some variation of that. That's great. BPM is a collective. BPM is a cooperative. BPM circulates and redistributes its resources among its contributors. But I'm not saying that BPM, it would be a good tagline maybe, but I'm not saying BPM is the revolution, or that this is what we have to do, or this is the only thing, or this will bring about the revolution. This is specifically, for me, and I think the rest of the collective, understood as a media version of a survival program. That's it. And then, the other piece specific to the two scholars I was talking about, I do think it's important to acknowledge flaws in the method or the development of a conclusion. So again, if people are using Du Bois to say why we should do cooperatives, how can it be ignored when he said we shouldn't, or that it won't be enough? Is not that we shouldn't, but that it won't be enough. That's all. So that's really it. So anything that Black people do collectively that isn't overtly harmful to each other, I think is fine. I don't have any problem. I'm supportive of all of that. I'm just trying to not have it stop there. Does that make sense? Does that?
Yes, that makes sense. I guess
Okay.
I have also been one of those people that have felt like, okay, I hear you, Dr. Ball, and I hear your critique, but what is the alternative? Like, okay, so what we gonna do in the meantime? You know what I'm saying? If we are going to push these things to the side, because one could also potentially argue that a myth is to think that the United States, this country, is just going to just take up socialism.
Oh, I don't think that.
Okay, so you don't think,
I don't
but
think that
you
at all.
said we should do socialism. So what does that look like? What does that mean?
So that's what I'm saying. So like, so first of all, again, I'm not saying to not do anything in the meantime. I just want the meantime to be more of a headline, that this is just in the meantime. Too many people are saying this is it. And not, they're not saying how are we going to get to something else. How do we get to socialism or something? I don't, that's not for YouTube. That's not, first of all, I don't know. Second of all, that's not for YouTube. That's for organizational work. That's off the, that's it's just the goal. But I don't think most people, again, who are advocating for Black business or circulating they're not advocating for some advanced revolutionary condition. They're advocating ultimately for their own selfish interests, and both materially and immaterially, in the sense that doing this other stuff is scary. And we don't have an easy sanctioned path to that. So I don't know, but but I know we got to figure that out, and we got to build. We have to get into these other spaces to do that.
So would you be open to, have you ever heard of systems thinking? Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of it.
Or design thinking?
I've heard of it, but that would be about all I could say.
Okay.
But why? What do I need to? What do we need?
I'm asking that because with that, you're taking a look at the various institutions. You're taking a look at the various systems that exist, and if Black people were to utilize that particular thing, that we would be able to bring together Black people from all different types of backgrounds, expertises, skills, so on and so forth, and be able to address what's happening. If what we are saying we're experiencing is systemic, it sounds like the only way to actually solve or get to a point where we can solve our issues is through a systemic solution. So it couldn't be just one particular thing anyways. Would that be just on the surface, I guess, would that be something that you would support?
Yeah, I mean, because as I understand it, if you have an anti-colonial, a decolonial movement, if you have a revolutionary movement, whatever, a socialist movement, that all of those institutional issues are dealt with. I mean, I think Marxists would argue that socialism is an all-encompassing, structural, systemic solution. That does address all of the institutions in society. That is the point. The whole point is to revolutionize the relation. I saw somebody mention Richard Wolff's talk about worker cooperatives. Fully agree. That's what I'm like. But I know, even though he won't come on here to talk about it, I know that Richard Wolff is talking about that as a pathway on the way to something else. He's not saying that worker cooperatives in and of themselves will bring about his socialist revolution. So that's all great. But by the way, a lot of people who I think, well, I don't know them because many of them are anonymous, but I think a lot of the people who are critical of my argument about this solution thing, they're not building cooperatives, they're not building worker cooperatives, they're not building economic cooperatives, they're not building business cooperatives, even a la Du Bois. And even if they were, I think that they would see the positives and the shortcomings and the difficulty of that work. And so, and then I would think that if they're truly wanting to advance, they would see that those who do that do see that we do need to do something else eventually. Is that all right? Did that help a little bit at least?
Yeah,
Until the next time you pop up?
yeah, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you jumping on. And we got to do this again. And you're welcome to do that next time too. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, peace,
Bye-bye.
peace. All right, cool. Demetrius, you next. What's up?
How's it going? Can you hear me well?
I can. Right on.
Yeah. First and foremost, Dr. Ball, I love your work. Love everything that you're doing with the black buying power, dispelling that myth, and I'm just appreciative that you're willing to have these open conversations and dialogues amongst the people. Yeah, I think part of my sort sort of my issue with your video with Du Bois
I
is
knew it was
I think
coming.
that everything that you no no no, I think that everything that you just laid out in the previous conversation with Danielle was spot on in terms of uh the way in which worker cooperatives are presented to us in terms of arguments. As if worker cooperatives specifically, specifically these sort of business cooperatives are the only tool to get us to a liberated future. And I absolutely agree with that. I just think that things aren't being properly contextualized. It's important for people to talk about dual power strategy and things like solidarity economies and prefiguration. So cooperativism fits into that. It's just one component, is one aspect of a larger solidarity economy, which would be, an economy of various alternative economic institutions. So we're not just talking about worker cooperatives, but consumer co-ops, credit unions, community land trusts, cooperative housing, and things of that nature. So it's just one element, and in general, that is a entire strategy of itself, which is dual power and prefiguration. And what I mean by prefiguration is beginning to embody in the here and now those future social relations that we want in a liberated world. And so, yeah, I think that's the major flaw in the conversation on all sides, uh, on the left, be it black or the white left, is that it's just not put into those proper contexts of prefiguration and dual power. And I think the other part of the video that kind of bothered me was the correlation of the need for the state and the need for government to produce a socialist outcome. And I do feel like that kind of marginalizes black and pan-African anarchist and libertarian communist views. Again, I know that you haven't done that in personally yourself. You did interview Lorenzo Kimboa Irvin, phenomenal interview. But I do think that we should have more of those conversations about, like, how can we get free outside of the state, outside of government structures, and just looking at new strategies, new tactics, new perspectives that, in my personal opinion, have been marginalized, because we're still connecting to the old experiments of the past, the USSR, Cuba, China, all these things, which I think that there are many critiques that can be made of those projects. So that's just my personal view, and
I love
I
it.
just wanted to bring that perspective to you.
And I appreciate it, and thank you for doing it. And in broadly speaking, I agree. And and again, my only point would be that um, uh, if we are limited by the buying power mythology and black capitalist mythology, we can't even have that
Yes,
discussion. That's
yes,
all I'm
yes,
saying.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if we are and again, and if we're using Du Bois to make a point at one point, I think we have to acknowledge
yeah,
his shift on that point later. So I wasn't saying he was right about the state. I wasn't saying I'm right about the state. I was just saying people's arguments
yeah,
using him to defend cooperatives as an almost an endpoint in some cases is not
yeah,
fair to him. I don't think it helps us. So that's it. But I
yeah,
hear you and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
absolutely. absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
it was just yeah.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I look forward to you jumping back on another time. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
you.
appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. Cool. And yeah, I see people in the comments making a point. Dunamis. Dunamis. Uh-oh. Sorry. You broke up there. Say that again. Ooh. 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 No. No, we're not. I'm not. There's something really bad with your mic. We're not hearing anything, basically. But anyway, the point is, you'd be the first one not in your car to join. That was
Can
the
you hear me
point.
now?
Much better, much better. Yes. And I dropped the
Okay.
link in the chat again if people want to jump in again. Anyone else wants to jump up next? Yes, go ahead. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, peace. Happy Sunday. It's two questions. So then, with the approach that you see in society, a lot of people retiring out, baby boomer generation retiring, dying out. Why not reapproach the Booker T. Washington approach, learning trades and skills and whatnot, so that way we can have the economic power, we can take over industries to where we put a stranglehold on things
There's a number of
as a
reasons.
part of not
Go
a
ahead.
long term solution, but a part time, for the moment solution to kind of build so where we can control things in the nation or certain subsects in the nation.
I'm never going to be mad at anybody having a trade. But the problem is that it's not that black people, the problem hasn't been black people's inability to learn trades or develop business acumen or even collective cooperative work. The problem is black people don't have the political power and to develop wealth and don't have the wealth to expand upon. So black people learning trades is not going to allow black people to take over any industry, particularly the more dominant industries in the economy. That those are already consolidated. Even most white people can't take over those industries. So that would be that. And black people don't have enough money in the black community to even to support one another's businesses to the levels that would help the collective expand. So that's why. Yeah, that's why. That would be my quick answer to that.
Okay, with you. But then with that, being that trade is universal, it's better to not just focus on just earning dollars from the black community, but expand to taking from other communities as well.
Right, but how would that?
And like with
How?
in a standpoint, I'm thinking about it from more so the Claude Anderson Powernomics approach, to where we gain power, not so much of a national solution per se, but then a localized solution with different power groups that build up to where it can reach a bigger solution in the nation, because not all communities are the same. So like right now, I'm in Atlanta, some people in New York. There are some things that are similar in terms of the power structure, but there are things in Atlanta that's different from New York. So I can't just say that y'all have to take our solutions up there or wherever. I don't know where you at, brother. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
in
To do it.
Maryland.
So I
I'm
think,
in Maryland.
oh, okay, yeah. All right, that's what's up. So like there's to me, I can't just push it nationally, but I think there's things that can be done locally to where we can better ourselves to tap into those things. And as it grows locally, you know what I'm saying, building that power structure, um, business and whatnot, to where we can do different things, at least economically, to where there's a level of comfort. And then from there, when
But
power
this is.
comes up,
But we see
go
this.
ahead.
We see this we see this flawed. We see the limitations of this all the time, including. Now I went blank on that company that everybody was talking about that just sold itself. For a black business to expand beyond satisfying the black community, it would require investment from white venture capital. It would require support from white consumers. It would even just to be able to expand, to be able to do all of that. Then it would start to go. Then I think you start going into questions of what value does that have, because that's still just one company to helping the entire black community. And then we're back to the same thing. So we're having a business relationship with white America that only benefits black people to the extent that elite whites get involved and white consumers get involved. And then eventually the goal, as we see happening all the time, is for Black businesses to get big enough to sell themselves to white businesses. And then people are said, so, and that's, yeah. So that's, and then also, then this is the other problem is it doesn't matter. The other is still that class question for me. What happens if Black people do take over a certain sector of an economy? How does that redistribute? How is that organized in its redistribution to help everybody else? So that's why I don't think the Booker T model is sufficient. But I don't have, but having a trade is great, would be great. I don't have any problem with that part of it. I'm very Dr. Clark on that. When Dr. Clark said we need Booker T, we need Garvey, we need Du Bois, all of it. We need all of it and more. And then as we'll talk about tomorrow, my thing is, and this is really what I mean when I say you and I and everyone are scared of the solutions, because George Jackson had the solution. And I'm terrified of that fact. And nobody wants that. So that's why we keep running to everything else. That's why I'm on YouTube. That's why I'm teaching at Morgan. That's why other people start businesses. That's why other people vote for Republicans and Democrats. That's why other people do grassroots organizing, because we all trying to either get there or get away from that George was right. Anyway, I appreciate you coming through, and thank you very much for yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, peace. Saeed Sanders, welcome. Greetings, peace.
How's it going, brother?
As good as could be expected. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. On the cooperatives idea, if we have churches, the churches have money. If we could organize the churches to begin to use the money that they have to build the cooperatives that we need, those institutions already exist, and so we could do a number of things. I agree with you that it's not going to be the revolution itself. However, it could provide the kind of survival programs that we need. One, you need some sort of institution that already exists, and you're not trying to start from the bottom up. If churches just say, let's say that Jamal Bryant talked about farming, although he was talking about growing weed. But we just talk about
it's worth more than gold now, isn't it? Pound for pound, I think weed is worth more than gold, right? No, I don't know.
Perhaps, but I was thinking more so something that we can live off of, not necessarily with.
No, I hear you.
Escape. So those churches do exist. They already have the capital. They could do some of the basic things, and we could deal with some of the problems that we have. It will not move us into the kind of sovereignty and independence that we need to be. However, it could get us away from the position that we're at, and also move the churches, which are just basic parasites for the most part at this point, to be something that can be an asset for the community.
Again, I'm not here and I'm not interested in discouraging any collective cooperative effort. I just, as long as it's, again, understood to be part of a process to get us somewhere else. I'm skeptical about a lot of what you said happening, by the way, but I mean, I'm not going to discourage it. If the churches can be radicalized, great. But again, part of what I'm saying is a lot of the mythology around the buying power myth. I mean, for a while, there was a moment where I want to say most of the invitations I got initially very early on were to churches, by the way, where people wanted to initially hear and then criticize my argument about buying power. Because the churches, that mythology circulates greatly there, because that's part of, I think, how they encourage people to give to the church. Because we're going to take that money and invest, and we're going to build, we're going to do something good for the community. And so anyway, so my point is I'm skeptical that might happen, but I'm down for it.
Yeah, I understand. I just think that especially now, since church membership is dropping, but church the church membership is dropping across America, both in Black America and white America, the same. However, the church is still the most organized institution that Black people have, and also actually has more capital than any other Black institution that we have. So you have to use what you have to get what you want. That's that's my
I hear
that's my
you.
two
I
cents.
just don't know we all agree on what we want. That's part of it. But I hear you. And I appreciate it. I
Uh,
appreciate it. And
all
thank you
right,
for coming on. Now,
all
thank
right.
you very much. All right, peace, peace. And Jolly, am I saying your name correctly? Welcome, welcome, greetings,
Hey,
peace.
Anjali. Can you hear me okay?
Anjali, I can hear you just fine. Thank you. Right
Yeah.
on, right on. I saw you shaking your head when I said weed is worth more than gold. Is that not true? I thought it was true at
I
one
am
point.
from California. I should know the answer to that, but
Okay.
I don't actually.
Okay,
And yeah,
okay, okay, okay,
it
okay.
is worth
Anyway,
more.
sorry. Anyway, didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. Anyway,
No,
go ahead.
for
What's on
sure.
your mind?
I mean, what you're speaking to is evocative on so many different fronts. One of the things that comes up for me is, so say in talking with students about these kinds of arguments, I'd say a lot of folks do get more sort of compelled to this buying power propaganda if they have, just to make it plain, unresolved trauma, right? Or are in need of healing where their survival need, right, is so, like was just talked about in terms of survival programs, is not being met. Like how many of our loved ones are just hemorrhaging out right now. And then that has to sort of, in a certain way, take precedence. And then on top of that, when you pair that with what you were just talking about, naming this group of our loved ones as unorganized, right? If you don't have other means available to you to be able to have those bare minimum needs met, then it's like folks politicize or generalize out from that individual experience of theirs a politic that isn't exactly critically thought. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And that's what the narrative and the propaganda encourages to say, focus on your individual experience or that of one other person you might be able to point to, or particularly a celebrity or somebody we place or encourage to be platformed in a certain way to repeat that message. If I can do it, you could do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think there's a lot, to your point, I agree. There's a lot of trauma and it takes various tolls and it does encourage us into certain, I would say, bad choices, but yeah.
Completely. Yeah, I feel like there needs to be so much more conversation in politicized spaces about the role of trauma responses and how that distorts and how differential our trauma responses are. Like, do you freeze? Do you fight? Do you flee? Like this, it's not to psychologize the political unnecessarily. Like this is relevant in terms of how activated
Absolutely.
how many of us are on a regular basis. And without, right, absent scrutiny of that, all sorts of shit can fly under the rug as if it's actually a conscious or aware political praxis, when in actuality, it's just like people's unresolved trauma responses bouncing back and forth off of each other.
You know what, that reminds me, we were supposed to have a show from the Association of Black Psychologists coming on. I got to double back, but I'm with you. One of the people I speak to most often off camera is a counseling psychologist.
Right.
And and trauma is constant. It's yeah, very good point. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just we can't outthink that, right? So even if we're principally engaged in dialogue and strategizing at some cerebral level that is in a certain kind of way disconnected from other aspects of our being, then we're going to miss this massive, a force to be reckoned with in terms of understanding how depoliticized folks are, the kind of cynicism, fatalism, apathy, nihilism that, is just haunting so many of our loved ones. Like that isn't explicitly, a conscious choice on the part of so many folks. It's not like they've analytically come to that state. It's an explicitly embodied state. Yeah.
That's an imposed state. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, no, thank you for that. I appreciate you jumping on and sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
And
you
the
very much.
last thing I'd mention too is to this trash that Norman Finkelstein, right, is airing.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So oh my God. I can't. So hold on real quick. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Go ahead and finish your point. And is there something specific that you're talking about?
I mean,
Oh my God.
the fearing of a solution, your framing of this, right? Like I would love for example, Aaron Mate to be right operating in good faith right now. But I first even heard about that book of Finkelstein's on his podcast, Pushback, that is saying some things that are important, especially calling out the trash that is Russiagate that merits more attention. But then it's like I heard you speaking to, and I was so grateful that you brought that up the other day. He's like literally saying that Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi monopolize an understanding of race right now. Like, talk about completely copying out of actually having any kind of intellectually rigorous conversation, right?
So just to be very clear, I have a profound respect for Finkelstein and his work around Israel and Palestine. And I thought, and I just emailed him last night, because the reality is I booked the interview with him before I saw the Aaron Mate interview and before I started reading the book. So I emailed him last night to outline for him, having just finished the introduction. I had to outline, this is where we have some serious disagreements.
That's right.
So I want to give him the heads up, and he's cool with it. He's cool with it, but one of them is I said, you seem, basically I'm trying to say, and I will say, he goes from, there's just so many problems, but he in his desire to condemn identity politics, he has ignored the radical interaction, in this case led by Black people, about engaging identity and radicalizing within that, and what that has meant. And he skips over, so he like makes references to Robeson and a whole bunch of other European scholars, and then he jumps to the current critiques of these folks, and it's like, but you're leaving out all the people that they negate. But he does it, and I told him I had to make a joke. Anyway, I don't want to take all the time because I got a couple people waiting. But I made a little joke because he takes shots at Edward Said, which
and
to
I mean,
say that
there's critiques to be had, but
his critique of Said is that Said immaturely went into identity politics, and by the end of his life started to come out of that, but was still too wedded to that kind of stuff. And I wrote to Finkelstein, I said, but Said was right. Because one of the things that he was saying that Said critiqued him for was that you're using only Israeli scholars to make your arguments. And yes, there may be a tactic, but as I'm pointing it out, like, to me, it's not. It's an anti-tactic to only use to European and white scholars to condemn what Black thinkers have not done around identity. I was like, man, this is not. That's not a good look.
Good look. So messy. No.
Yeah, and then and then he's got some other issues with, like, he's with gender and pronouns, and
well, because to what extent can you even understand class properly if you're not engaging with gender and sexuality and race and indigeneity and so many other issues? Like, pretend to even give two fucks properly about class, and then you couldn't even be this anti-intellectual.
Well, as I'll say to him, I would have wanted him to do the work to explain why.
Right.
In other words, there are, as you said, for Said, there are critiques to be had, but then make them. Like, show respect for the work and the traditions by engaging them. Like, he has a line where he does, like, so many people, Afrocentricity, blah, 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 like dismissing Afro, like, that doesn't work for me. And I'm even a critic of African-centered, Afrocentricity, whatever. But you can't just dismiss it as if there's not a body of work that itself is diverse and nuanced, and then just say it's all wrong because identity is reductionist or essentialist or whatever. Anyway, it does. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, no, it needs to happen, because that's so anti-intellectual. Like, if we're in grad school, you have to do a literature review before you can come out with your own argument, and these people don't even know who the folks are to be in conversation with for the literature review.
I did tell him, and I will make this point. I did say in the email, speaking of Mate, that I said you would have been better served turning this critical lens on those you say are the heirs, or that you think are the heirs to this righteous struggle.
That's
like
right.
in other words, it's this white left, or whatever they're called, whatever they are. It's his crew.
Exactly.
That are anyway, that's where I think he should have spent his time, looking at more closely, like where their shortcomings, as opposed to now dipping over here into this. And it's just like, wow. Anyway, but we'll see.
They have to deconstruct that myth of objectivity to be able to go there, though. Like, no, we're just like the norm. Y'all are the ones doing something boutique, right? Or a special interest. And so, yeah, that might take a little bit of work, right? A solution, perhaps, that has yet to be taken seriously.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
Right.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you. I appreciate you jumping on. Thanks a lot. Peace. All right, Freedom Power. What's up? What's up, Freedom Power? What's going on?
Hey, peace. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, you've been on the forefront of this discussion for quite a while, so I don't think there should be much. Well, it can be. I see you're able to field these little bit of pushbacks real well, so I guess it's okay, and it helps.
Like people said in the chat, we're gonna do, and I had, and forgive me for not recognizing you from back in the day before. Your name, at least, I think in one of the chats, I forgot that. I forgot who. I didn't realize it was you. But as you know, we who have been building in these spaces for a long time, we don't all disagreement is not hostility, or doesn't have to be hostility.
That's right.
So I don't mind if people have check me. Like, my favorite moment, I keep bringing it up, is Coco checking me the other day, live and direct, and on TV, and said, "You read it wrong." She caught I was reading Walter Roddy entirely wrong, and she checked me right there, live and direct. She was right. It is what it is. I mean, anyway, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead, man.
But see, that's that well-seasoned revolutionary fervor you have, and it would be to be able to be corrected if you have to, But the point I think I'm making is, the questioning is fine, but there's just certain pushbacks that people are not qualified. I would never dare. I don't think I could compete with certain areas with your expertise, so I wouldn't try. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just couldn't. Like, to be honest, if we're going to build in dialogue, we need to be fair and honest about whose information is the person is not superior, but they're clearly well more studied than others, and we need to be able to admit that. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. But here's something else I think is important. You made this very crucial piece of point. We don't necessarily need money. I thought that was a powerful piece to put on the table, because if we're doing the ideological research and development, if we're doing the building of organization capacity, no antagonisms as few as we can, and continue this on to the next generation, to your children, to my grandchildren, and so on and so forth. That is the hope of a revolutionary takeover. That's what George is talking about. When you said George Jackson was right, our people are actually fearful of allowing somebody of his stature to be right, because it makes us have to
be that too. I'm afraid too, by the way. Not just
I heard
people, me. It's scary.
Yes,
George is
sir.
scary.
Yes,
I was
sir.
reading it again last night. George is
Hey, look. I can't say I'm scary anymore, because right now I don't give a damn. I want this system to be crushed as quick as possible. I want my grandchildren to have a greater chance of sensing or feeling freedom that I may never feel. You know what I'm saying? So when I was in a cage such as George was, I understood right then and there, I don't give a damn. They can kiss all this shit can go tomorrow and build, and something else comes, a socialist or communist structure comes from it. I could die right now if I knew that was going to happen. I don't give a damn after that. But my point, I'm sorry to go on that tangent, but my point is that you are qualified to continue laying this out. I wish folks could honestly just step aside and at least engage you in that way, where you put in the time and the work. The myth of black buying power. I mean, okay, let me stop, because I'm going to offend some people. But that thing has been thoroughly hashed out. I don't see how we could have any further discussion or debate, but that's the patience you show that I don't have. You're a teacher, you're a scholar, and I just don't have it. I'll just go straight to the throat when I can. But listen, bro, let me just appreciate you and let somebody else get on here, man.
No, I
Cause I
appreciate
don't.
you. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, all the time, bro. You've been doing this so long. I follow you. I've been on this thing with you, man, and I just appreciate the fact that you keep and then you are able to self critique yourself. Thank you, bro.
No, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Anytime, anytime. And no, I appreciate that. And trust me, the self-critiques get way worse than boy, oh boy, that self-critique is uh I appreciate Troy. I mean I don't take being checked as a negative. I don't even going back to when we used to go to Steve Coakley meetings and you'd say check if you said you understood something. I don't take it as being a negative, but okay, I appreciate what she did redirect me because I was in the wrong direction. I was literally reading Rodney wrong. So I don't, but I want to be checked in that regard. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't see. Thank you, Born Center. Miel Hair but there was another one that I thought there was another one. No, we don't have to agree. That's never going to that's my point though. That's why I'm saying when I'm offering a critique, I'm not saying we all have to agree and we can't work together. I'm saying I want to build with you. That is why I'm offering that critique. As the same way when I'm saying, Coco is saying I want to just to keep use that example. I want to build with you. So I want to critique that. I want to fix that. I don't have a problem with no, and thank you, Dunamis, if I'm saying that correctly. Anytime thank you for coming on. Um that's not how they got their wealth. I hope that's a joke, but that's not how Jews got their wealth. It wasn't just by learning trades, But again, I don't want to go through that whole history again either. At least not right now, unless Um, Grassroots Thinking Podcast, episode 2, cooperatives on this channel, hosted by Kwame and Black. Yeah, no, right on, absolutely, absolutely, and you know, I don't. I'm not opposed to cooperatives. I'm just simply saying Du Bois said they don't work. And they're not the final. They can't. That's not. They're not going to solve all the problems. That's it. That's it. That's dope. Radical office hours. That's funny. And one day we got to talk about. Oh man, the way office hours have been politicized is funny. Talk about that. Yeah, I was going to say everybody's calling it in the car. Yeah. So may I take then JB Jab's critique to the solidarity economic work solution, Southeast versus Zapatista cooperatives are different because Southeast the solidarity economy network solution, SE versus Zapatista's cooperatives are different because SE is it and Zapatistas have iron. I don't know enough about the solidarity economy network solution, so I wouldn't know. But from what I get, what I at least remember from thinking I know about the Zapatistas, that they had a bigger project. So that's all I'm saying. Because remember again, the buying power argument, part of the core part of the argument that I've made with that is that the messaging around entrepreneurialism, capitalism, circulating dollars, all of that has been intentionally imposed to keep us from going to these other things. So it's not just that I'm saying those in and of themselves as ideas are wrong or bad. It's that they are also part of a mechanism to keep us intentionally from going somewhere else. That's anyway. Good brother. What's up?
Peace. What's good with you, Dr. Ball? A couple of things. First off, I wanted to say, congratulations on the 2 years, and I wanted to say outright, I wasn't on the 2 year anniversary panel, so thank y'all, right? And the reason
Oh, thank
is
you.
really is directly related to what you're saying right now, as far as the conversation. Nobody gets to really see this type of stuff. Feel me? So if we not seeing it, it's a whole different set of stuff that's affecting people's mental. And that make and the thing that we fail to see, like, um, even though I've had a lot of these ideas for a long time in my life, I've always been affected by what's mostly prevalent out there. So that's always what dominates how you think. And that's how you think about reality completely. And so because of that, like, even though you might know, like, you know what I'm saying? Even though you might know about the radical tradition and the history of those, you think of those people as failures, straight up. You know what I'm saying? And that's because you're supposed to think of them as a failure because you're not trying to fail in your life. So you trying to succeed and you gotta identify success in a certain way because for real, this is like it's a strategy, it's a whole setup. So when people come into the chat and they come on to the comments and they asking about quote unquote solutions, it's basically because people can't really they can't put two and two together and realize that when you tell somebody to go into an organization and when you tell somebody to get their radical foundation solid, they don't understand that that's important because they already been um brainwashed programmed by the 24/7 cycle of information that says capitalism, 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 capitalism. You dig what I'm saying? And so y'all show give a person a place to start to like just by watching y'all. I watch y'all like 24/7 like a crackhead on mama. And the fact that I do that shit, it get me to the point where like I could walk outside any day and I'm cool with the fact that nobody think like me and they all gonna say some shit about me being dumb or having the wrong idea, but I know that they on the wrong wave. And I could get people I could talk to certain people long enough to get some people to start seeing the opportunity to get on the right wave. But like if you're gonna be a George Jackson type of person, you gotta be grounded in the fact that every other thing that seems to make sense, that is supposed to make sense, that's supposed to be right, that's how you measure your life's progress, all that shit is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And you just gotta be comfortable with that. But then you also gotta be smart enough not to become a crash test dummy and just make a move on some dumb shit and fuck around and be just straight reactionary for a failure. Like that's why the organization is smart. That's why being part of a collective is that shit is necessary. Because if not, you're gonna wake up one day, you're gonna be pissed off about all the truth that you know, and you're gonna try to pick up a pistol and be a dumbass. And all you're gonna do is be a flash in the pan, bro. And then after that, everybody gonna go back to the same shit. And they're not even gonna remember you. That's what happened to Micah X. Like, son went out there, pulled triggers, he wanted to be a revolutionary. All right, now we can understand his feeling. But don't nobody really rep Micah X. Don't nobody jack bro, because when he did that, he was doing that shit with no organization. Wasn't nothing behind him. There wasn't no way to make sure that that shit was a sustained effort. That shit could have been the first salvo. You dig what I'm saying? But it wasn't because he wasn't with nothing. You know what I'm saying? And nothing was with him. And that's why we got to build the organizations. And they got to be radical organizations. Like niggas talking about going to the church. Part of my language, that's an elder. So no disrespect to bro. He was talking about go to the church. If that church is on some soft shit, if that church is talking some halfway shit, they're going to fuck up the wave, bro. What they're going to do is they're going to tell you some weird shit while you're trying to organize them. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to reorder the story. They not going to support shit when push comes to shove. They never going to support some shit that's like on some BLA shit when they decided to step head to head with people like, no, you're doing too much against us that's negative. And now we got to just be real people, real men towards y'all. Like we got to be right back at you. That you got to establish that again. You got to be able to have enough strength in yourself to reach out to your people, to re-radicalize them the way that the Ruba said that they had it in like the 70s when if they ask people who's your most trusted organizations, they're gonna say flat out without no provocation, they're gonna say a radical black organization is their most trusted. You know what I'm saying? That's why they got crushed because at that point they were so effective. People were scared. They were like, nah, we got to deal with this because these people becoming their own solid, self-sustained, self-defining unit. You know what I'm saying? And then the part of it that I be thinking about, right, because George Jackson is one of the illest, like when you look at the fact that Deruba came out of the system, you look at the fact that a lot of these brothers, like even Malcolm came out the system. I think that like, and I kind of said this on like one of my comments is like, I feel like one of the points that y'all missing is that like y'all so y'all so deeply read in the books and y'all so like up on like the knowledge, like y'all know the terminology, y'all know like you understand that language from like the like universities, colleges, and shit like that, right? But then somebody coming in like me, myself, and the people that I run with, right? If we coming in, cats be feeling like dummies. You feel what I'm saying? And sometimes when they get corrected, or when people react to somebody who's not really like on the wave like y'all, like they might feel like somebody's trying to play them for a dummy. I think that y'all got to start, and I would like to, you know what I'm saying? I ain't nobody, but I would like to help. Y'all got to start reaching the people who's not on that same wave, because those are the people who about that fucking action on mama. You dig what I'm saying? So those are the people who gonna help to push this shit forward to the point where, yeah, now we starting to have like serious organization, because all they doing, they live their whole life trying to find something to put their hands on to change their circumstance. They're not really even about thinking that much. You dig what I'm saying? They want to see something different. And so if they can get to a point where they could be in a radicalized situation and they could get clarity past all that, what you talk about, maybe past talking all about the advertisements and what you hear in the rap songs and what you see on the TV and what they trying to push to you in them textbooks. But if they could get into that situation, they would be moving rather, you know what I'm saying? They'd be moving rather than shaking, because they wouldn't be concerned. They'd be like, yo, this shit right here is helping my life. This shit right here is gonna help my kids' life.
So,
Like, you feel me?
so first of all, I absolutely, and I appreciate everything. So first of all, we want to make sure that you're safe. So please make sure you get a battery and that smoke detector is stay safe. We want to make sure that's a survival program pending revolution. That's
Copy,
a solution we need. We
got
need
you.
you to
My
stay
bad.
safe. No, I'm just playing with you. But if you want to build with us and follow up with us, which it sounds like you wanted to do, we're happy to have that. And I know we are, as a platform, very sensitive to the balance of academic, activists, Marxists, African-centered. We are aware of certain imbalances, gender imbalances, all kinds of imbalances. So we're happy to build with you on that. So you can email me directly or send us collectively at media@blackpower or mediablackpower@gmail. Through the website, blackpowermedia.org is where you can send us an email. That all of that would work. It's down there, right, scrolling down at the bottom.
Most importantly, thank y'all, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
By the way, real quick, my godfather used to say this all the time about radio, and I feel the same way about BPM. To a point that you made earlier, he used to say that he would do radio to give Black people who gather at the water cooler at work something to say to the people that say dumb stuff to them. I'm messing up his line, but that's basically. So I like that we can give you a certain perspective and points of starting points to mental self-defend yourself, mentally self-defend as you go out into the world. And I'm happy. I'm sure we're all happy to build with you going forward.
All right. Peace. Thank you.
Peace. Thank you very much. All right, Josh. What's up, Josh? On camera. I mix what I like.
What's
Crew
up?
in the building. What's up? What's
Can you hear me,
going
Dr.
on?
Ball? I'm good.
Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm good, chilling. I like to stay behind the scenes. I just came on to one. I didn't know if you're going to put the chat up, but to plug that the Grassroots Thinking Podcast episode 2 is out, and they do cooperatives and basically kind of go over everything you said. So I'm just interested in the educational capacity of this channel, and the last two guests definitely illustrated exactly the group we're trying to reach. So just plugging that shit in and trying to connect all the other great programs that are already on here. Something I wanted to do. And you can always plug the Discord. We're in there. Emma's in there. A lot of people are in there who do great work behind the scenes. So
the link to all of that is in the show description.
In the show description. But that was about it.
No, thank you. And thank you for you and Aaliyah. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you. Thank you. And thanks for jumping on in any time.
Oh, no. I had one more thing. George Jackson is scary because that man can see the truth. He's very clear. He understands what's going on in the world. He understands all the arguments that all these other people are playing around with. He outlines them in the plainest language you will ever see. And that's scary. Can't play games.
That's what I'm saying. That's it. Perfectly
that's
well
it.
said. That's it.
Peace.
Thank you very much, Josh. Peace, man. Thanks. Oh man, I love it. Speaking of, you know what? Speaking that Finkelstein comment made me think, and the George thing made me think of something here. Dr. Joy James, who will be leading one of our leaders in the discussion around blood in my eye this week, starting tomorrow. She sent me something of hers that I had not read. I have to admit I had not read, and this is exact. I'm gonna read this to Finkelstein, and if anybody wants to share with him, this is a preview. I'm not mad because he has this whole thing about what is an authentic spokesperson for a specific group. But this is exactly why. This is exactly why I'm like, you can't disrespect the body of work if you want to be critical of it. And there are critiques to be had. And some of the stuff that Finkelstein says about some of these folks is funny. I'm not gonna lie, it's funny. But he's missing this. Look at what James said here. This is just one paragraph. African-American intellectuals, and this is from Transcending the Talented 10th, and I believe it was published in 90 something. I'll come back to that. But check this out. African-American intellectuals who posit obligations to the Black community and community-centered worldviews are sometimes discredited by charges of essentialism for identifying as Black thinkers who privilege community building and anti-racism. When generalized, the charge of essentialism can be used as a political club, much as the PC or politically correct charge was used to dismiss the demands of progressives. Obviously, some nationalism and Afrocentrism have engaged in a romantic, racialized, essentialist discourse. However, not all Black writers who advocate or demand American and Black responsibility towards a Black people or Africana community can be uniformly dismissed as essentialist. There is no one authentic way of being Black or American or intellectual. There are, however, ways of being political. God damn. Excuse me, everybody. God damn it.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Perfect for dear brother Finkelstein. If I could do my Cornell West rendition. There is no one authentic way of being Black or American or intellectual. There are, however, ways of being political. And while all Blacks, even those with a contempt for non-whites and non-elites, are authentic, their intellectual stances reflect a politics that will either challenge or accommodate oppression. At their best, our debates on the relevance and significance, what some consider to be the authenticity of Black and anti-racist American intellectuals, attest to our strong, desperate need for liberating thought. Today, we find ourselves amid heated, contested claims for progressive Black intellectualism precisely because the stakes seem so high and vital signs so low. Damn.
Now listen, that's called my boy.
Every time I read Dr. James, I'm reminded, like, it's like seeing somebody, it's like whatever you do, is whatever you want to do, you see someone do what you know you can't ever do. God damn. Anyway, I don't even have nothing to say. Oh no, man. Oh no. Finkelstein, you know, I it's gonna be a difficult one. It's gonna be a difficult one. You know, years ago, I emailed him after reading The Holocaust Industry, and I wanted to interview him on my radio show because there's a part in that book where he talks about the conservatism that's baked in to the Holocaust industry has been part of what has driven a wedge between Black and Jewish communities. He doesn't follow up on it in the book. And that was I told him in the email where I wanted us to start our conversation. I told him, I was like, you know, my mother's a Jew, my father's black. They all come out of the struggle. You know, I was like laying out, you know, trying to like really, you know, to say like, this is why I want to have you on. I want to start with that point, but I wanted to be clear. I don't want to go in reactionary directions, all this kind of stuff. And he didn't respond at the time. And I really wish he would have, and that we would have started some sort of, you know, political relationship then, because maybe I could have intervened and prevented what has happened here. But yeah, I mean, the Holocaust industry is brilliant. And part of what I said to him in the email last night is that I don't think you're not bringing that level of work. And then he even acknowledges that what he's done here is not a scholarly work. And I'm like, you know, but you just playing with black struggle. Like, that's my point. Like, I feel like you just playing with black struggle and black thought as if it's a playground. And Israeli Palestine, you know, Israel Palestine, that's serious. That deserves the real focus. But if you hear that Aaron Mate interview, I mean, look at, oh my God, look at the Mate interview and Aaron Mate. Now it makes all the stuff with Max and all that's happening now. Now it seems to make it makes a whole new different level of sense. I'm gonna show you this. I don't care. I mean, he wrote it. Well, I'll ask him about it. But and he goes into this in the Aaron Mate interview. This isn't relevant to what we'll be talking about, but I will show you this. Like, this is just where he's at. Like, he's on some real old, he's really old white manning, really. Every website's become a dating app as professionals list their pronouns besides their names. Whenever I see he, him, or she, her, I think, fuck you. You must be living in an awfully precious life if amid pervasive despair of an economy in free fall, your uppermost concerns is clinging to your pronouns. I don't entirely disagree with that sentiment, to be perfectly honest, but I don't agree with that approach. And I don't agree with his approach stated in Aaron Mate's show that he won't acknowledge students who demand a certain pronoun. I was like, why? And this is so anyway, just to bring it back to where we are today, I don't need to go into all of this, and I'll come back to the chat if anybody wants. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. But this is the thing. I keep saying this. We're in a moment right now where everything is on the table, but too much of the punditry is dragging us in reactionary responses. So I think there is a critique to be had around, as we've talked about here, the woke imperium and the I think abuse of identity struggles and this, that, and the third. And whatever I may feel about the pronoun thing, if someone says this is my pronoun, that they're going to get that level of respect. Now we might have, maybe I might try to if I have a critique, and I don't know. If I had a critique, I would try to, that wouldn't be my approach. And if I felt that way, I certainly wouldn't say that publicly, because my public approach would be as a faculty member or as an activist or organizer or a wannabe YouTube revolutionary, whatever the hell I'm doing. I want you to see a more radical vision for that identity or that pronoun. That would be my point, not to condemn the pronoun, but to say, fine, if your pronoun is whatever it is, how do we make that the more militant version of that? But and oh man, anyway, I don't want to, I'll leave it there. It's going to be it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a challenge. I just, yeah, the whole interview. I watched the whole. Oof. And I'm sitting there, and honestly, all I kept thinking with the Aaron Mate one was, you're going to sit through this, and then you're going to, and the blackness that you're going to invite on is Peniel Joseph. And when when I'm like, my man, I thought I was cool enough with you to let you know. He was like, nah, Gerald Horne told me Peniel is good. Now, that is my only critique of Horne, and he will not debate that or discuss that with me. But that is my only real critique of Horne and Robin Kelly. I don't care what else they've done right or wrong. Why are you co-signing this fool? Anyway. Oh, drop the link again. My bad. Link is dropped. Sorry about that. Come on through. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna be like, oh man, I was like, why would you write that? Like, man, oh my God. Now I am looking forward to this because, and I don't know if she does or doesn't. I don't recall reading or hearing but I'm very much interested in what Professors James and Jones will have to say about George. I feel pretty competent in what Kalanji's approach to George is. But every time I talk or listen to Joy James, I feel like, and increasingly Janine Jones, every time I listen to them, I'm like, I might need some help. They got there's very different perspectives and different levels to this, as they say. So I'd be very interested if they, Yo, yeah. Well, Gerald Horne is. I think he's made it pretty clear that he's not interested in public critical exchange with other Black people that he sees are doing some good. So he must perceive Roland as doing some good. But I wonder if any of you have they ever talked about Horne's book on the Black press? Because as I've covered here previously, Roland Martin completely obliterated Horne's point about his own book. So I don't know if Horne's even aware of how poorly Roland Martin interprets his own book. I don't know if they've gotten to that. Here's another request I have while we're over here talking, a little bit of while I'm, wait a minute, I don't even have my name pulled up. Hold on, let me pull my name back up. If I could put on my chief petty officer hat, has Josh Myers been on Greg Carr's Roland Martin segment? Has Greg Carr reviewed Josh Myers' book of Black Study on Roland Martin? I honestly wouldn't know. Please let me know if it ever happens. Please let me know. Send me the link. And shout out to Roberto Duran in the background. But if you ever see any public discussion of Josh Myers' book of Black Study on Greg Carr's show, please let me know. I would be very interested. And let's be fair. Gerald Horne has only not responded to one request of mine to come on, and it was specific to the critiques that we talked about before. So I don't know that he won't come on BPM. It may just be me. It may just be me right now. It may be that he missed the email. That all of those are possibilities. Although I do know at least one person has reached out to him with a very, very angry version of what I did. So I don't know if he ever watched it, but I know he at least got one very negative review of that video. And I think that person completely mistook and misunderstood what I was doing. And I stand by it and don't have a problem with it and don't have a problem with Horne. So I don't, but all right, but I do believe this to a certain extent, and I think some of it is even the Black Power title. We've gotten some criticism about that. And that's true. That's true. Right. Ricky makes a good point. He has been on. He was on with Dr. CBS at one point and elsewhere. He'd been on with me. I mean, he was on with me at the Amsterdam joint. We talked even off camera at the Amsterdam Paul Robeson joint. Whatever. Maybe. Anyway, I don't say so. If everybody's good, I guess nobody else did want. I'll put the link in one more time, but we can wrap up. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, Roberto is man, he need to get, yeah. Roberto is doing his thing. Okay, no, maybe we're good. So, just to recap, the video about Du Bois and cooperatives was definitely not an attack or throwing shade in any way, shape, or form at Cooperation Jackson. So that whoever carried that messaging is completely off base. Big shout out to Kali Akuno, who all signs suggest he'll be popping up here with us at some point in the near future and to talk more about this. And shout out to Cooperation Jackson social media for acknowledging that fact. And I look forward to building with them. I mean, that's just, I hate when people come out of nowhere. Like don't pick up the movie end. You know what I'm saying? And with all due respect, Michael Kahn is not happening. So I don't know how I don't even know how you made it back on here into the chat, but that's not happening. We're not doing that again. So I'm afraid you're going to have to go elsewhere. I'm very open to critique and just, but I think we've crossed a couple lines and I'm not interested in that today. So if anybody else is interested in coming through, please jump on. You're more than welcome. It's someone who used to engage through my website and I don't feel is in good faith, and I just am not interested I'm just not interested today. Yeah. And I wouldn't even, I don't even think, whatever issues we've ever had with the chat, I would never do that to you. I would never willfully do that to you. Including anyway, I don't want to belabor that. I don't even want to stay in that lane. So yeah, so I'm not interested in dissing cooperatives or collectives. I'm not interested in dissing anyone trying to do anything with others who are trying to radically improve this world. I am simply pointing out a few in narrow instances where I disagree. And I'm, again, disagreement is not being rude or disrespectful. I'm not talking about people's names and personality. Yeah, I'm not like getting into their private lives. It's just these ones, and I'm not even talking about their overall arguments even. I'm talking about this one specific point. So please, you know, and again, yeah, try to remember, like there's a lot of work here that I've done, that the channel has done, that we've done in collaboration with others. So try to remember, especially if you're watching a 5-minute video that clips 1 minute of Du Bois. Well, damn, if Du Bois can't get credit for all his breadth of work, I can't expect to get it. So yeah, maybe I should just give up on that. No doubt. And the only viewpoints that are really unacceptable are Kamal's on hip hop. Those are the only views that are truly unacceptable around here. But other than that, I mean, I feel like we're pretty open, you know. No, there's no. All I've been able to do is struggle to stop eating so much. And to eat healthier when I do, but there's no real working out. In fact, I was using the stress bands earlier, and they're good, they're helpful, but I'm still stuck in that old retrograde manhood thing. I want the weights, and I want to hear the noise. I want to hear the metals clack. That's working out. I want to feel like I literally, when I used to go to the gym, and I would literally have to sit in the car for a good 10 minutes before, because I couldn't even lift my arms to get to the steering wheel. But there's something about that sound when you're putting weight on the bar. Clank, clank. And people start looking. People start hating. He can't lift that. That's what I miss, goddammit. Those stress bands don't do it. So no, I'm not working out. I'm just starving all the time. I'm always fucking hungry. Anyway, who just jumped in and jumped out the chat, the studio? Come on back. But we can rap. We can rap. I'm just bullshmitting now, like R.M. Brown says. Man, he did an interview with what's her name from TYT. Come on, R.M. Brown. Come on, man. Used to be, not anymore. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, I was trying to look like James. That's what I was headed toward. That's what I was trying to get to, but nah. My only question is how can you not understand the reading after reading like George Jackson, or understanding like primary function of an organization? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm missing something there. I don't know. Okay. All right, here we go. Pro Woman J, what's up? Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, let me get on real quick. I put a comment in the chat about the concept of transferable skills. First, let me say hi, Professor. Hi. I feel like I'm even talking to a celebrity or something.
No, please, no, never that.
I put in the chat the concept about transferable skills. And skills learned under capitalism can be transferred and applied to socialism, Marxism, ism, any kind of ism, any kind of social system. So can we start a Black business? Can we become an owner of a team like LeBron James? I saw a little bit of the program where you guys are saying LeBron James is a class enemy because he wants to become an owner of a team. So can we learn?
Diallo, that was Diallo specifically. Let's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I have maybe a similar question of Diallo. We go back and forth on Facebook sometime about his incessant mockery of people who have religious belief. And, you know, here's the deal on that. So I don't think religious belief is going to go anywhere anytime soon. So he's going to have to live on the planet with people who have religious belief. So how about he talk about what he believes in and how well that works for him and the impacts and the results and the outcomes that he's produced based on whatever his belief system is, rather than mocking other people's religious beliefs. I just think that would be a lot more productive if he did that, but he doesn't. So anyway, but yeah, so the concept of transferable skills, because I feel Dr. Ball, yourself, Diallo, many with your line of thinking, maybe even Yvette Carnell and Tone. And let me ask you too, what happened with that relationship? Because I'm not aware that you guys have much communication or
wow.
cooperation.
There's a lot that happened.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot that happened.
Okay. So
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so to wrap it up, those are so are we not better off starting that business? It might even be a capitalist model. We might even be paying, we might have a storefront, restaurant. I think Diallo said he had a bookstore and a coffee shop. I would be curious as to what the ownership structure was of that business. But are we not better off starting that business? No, it may not compete with Amazon, like Yvette Carnell is always saying. If you start a business and you get an LLC, you ain't competing with Amazon. But okay, are you still not doing something to improve your material? So to wrap it up, are we not better off developing ourselves, starting where we are with what we have, acquiring skills in business and commerce and ownership? And then we can segue that into cooperatives, other kind of means of collective ownership, and then apply them to whatever system we come up with. And lastly, I think we are better off, and as a scholar, maybe you'd understand this, asking the question, What are we going to do about inequality and resource exploitation, rather than saying socialism is the only way or capitalism is the only way? If we start with the thinking and that question, we'll come up with some kind of creative answer. I have absolute confidence that Black people can do it based on what we've been through and what we've come through, and we're still here. I'm always going to bet on Black. So those are my questions.
No, I appreciate that. And okay, so quickly, I've just been dropping in the chat a couple links to my reverse soda hashtag experience. But yeah, there was a lot that happened. And the short of it is that what I think happened between me and Yvette and Tone is very much what started this very stream. That is a question about solutions, because what I think is the core difference is not the observation of a particular problem, but the rebranding of the solution as revolution when it's at best a survival program. And I think with the reverse soda hashtag crew, it's actually very reactionary. So in other words, oh yeah, I don't know if we have the, but so that's essentially it, that we have a different way of responding to the problems of Black material inequality. And I don't think cutting ourselves off from Pan-African radical internationalism or an African global identity or socialism or communism or Nkrumah Touréism or any of these, or George Jacksonism, I don't think cutting ourselves off from that is in order to get a relatively narrow set of reparations demands passed by the United States government is a solution. I don't think diving back into an isolated Black American identity and politics is a solution. So that's the short of that. The other part of it is, if I understood your question, is I have no qualms with, again, as long as everything is understood to be a survival program pending revolution, I almost don't have a problem with anything. And or I can at least say I can at least logically or intellectually understand why people would make certain decisions or prefer one survival program over another. I don't have a problem with that. It's that people like the reverse soda folks and others couch as their singular solution a very reactionary or conservative aspect of a set of solutions. Does that make sense? Oh, she left. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Or they jumped off. Sorry. I didn't. But does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I got a little unclear there. But that's what I'm where I don't know. I think I got a little unclear there. But now I won't speak. Obviously, I don't speak for Diallo, and I think we should do a version of this when Diallo is here. But those are two areas where we disagree, or in tactics, kind of almost similar to what I was saying about Finkelstein. Oddly enough, fundamentally, I don't think Diallo's criticisms are wrong. I'm very uncomfortable with the condemnation of people who practice various religions. It's similar to what I was saying about Finkelstein and the pronouns. I would rather my one-liner when I used to speak more on whenever I'm being invited to give my opinion, my one-liner is, if you're going to be a Jew, at least be like Kamal's favorite white man, Chomsky. I used to remember the name of this dude, Moses something or something, that one of the Jews that funded John Brown. But if you're going to be a Jew like that. If you're going to be a Christian, be like Nat Turner or at least Dr. King. And if you're going to be a Muslim, be Malcolm X. Be a Malcolm X Muslim. So if that's my preferred approach. And I admit a bias given, my late sister and brother are members of the Nation of Islam, high ranking at times. It's in fact, and some of my own personal relationships with individual brothers within the nation, I do have a bias against that sort of wild and hostile condemnation of the whole thing. Even if I agree fundamentally with what Diallo is saying, it's just a tactical approach. It makes me uncomfortable. Even when you go back and listen to early Malcolm speeches where he'd be like, you're stupid and you're being fooled and you're ignorant. That's why you fight. I don't like that particular approach when dealing with our communities and with people who, from my vantage point, have been wildly propagandized more than any other community in human history, and with skill levels that I think few people appreciate. The messaging at this point is so, it is so, I hate it, but it is so well done. We can't be that harsh. But when Diallo's on, y'all love it though. If we're strict business people as a YouTube channel, we would have Diallo on all day, every day. The chat loves him. The comments are mostly positive about him, more so than of me, even with all due respect. So we should have Diallo on all day, every day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm just saying, look, I'm petty like that. I notice. I'm looking at all these comments. They're like, Dad, they love some Diallo be killing it in here. Wrong as hell. And kill it. No, I'm just playing. Oh, word up. Okay, we got some folks coming in. All right, let's keep going. Chitty Matcha 1025. What's up? Welcome. Uh-oh. Hello.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Uh-oh. Hello.
Wait, I'm trying to. It's got a.
We hear you when you talk, I think.
Okay, it just seems like it's echoing to me, like it's. Okay.
Oh, I don't hear an echo.
Okay.
But
it's coming
if
up.
You have headphones, you might want to put them on, and then we can try again if you want.
Okay.
And yet, for me, yes, this is. I did get a new mic a couple weeks ago. Absolutely.
Headphones on, and I'm sorry. Like I missed the whole beginning of the. I missed the whole broadcast. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear you. You just keep stopping yourself. I don't know what you're hearing.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go forward. I missed the beginning of the broadcast, but one of the things.
You just stopped yourself again. Yeah.
It's got a delay, like I'm speaking and I hear it like maybe 10 seconds later. But one of the things that in terms of this,
Can you mute your computer or phone, or not mute your audio, mute your external speaker, and then just go ahead and say what you're saying? That might help. Because I don't think any of us hear an echo. I don't hear an echo. Right. Maybe you have two tabs open. You probably have another tab open. That'll do it.
Okay. In terms of solutions, one of the things that I wanted to discuss, and I don't know if this came up again previously, but in terms of education and this youth capture, these charter schools where they operate disproportionately in our neighborhoods and disproportionately are staffed with, quite frankly, under qualified, unskilled teachers, and the kids, like the library is really a storage room. It's not even a place, like books are just kind of in there. The kids don't even really read them. And there's been a number of charter schools that I've worked in where that has been the case.
Are you letting the echo catch up? Is that what that is? Or is it all right, let me give you a second. I'll bring you back up in a second. But my one high school teaching experience in DC was at a charter school, public charter school, and I thought it was horrible. I'm generally opposed to that because I think again it sets because and my brother Aize Sabater, this is one of the few areas we disagree. A beautiful brother. I want to. If I ever don't want to disagree with somebody, it's him. But he's very pro charter school because he's seen in again a handful of examples where Black communities or businesses or collectives that are particularly well positioned and well politicked can take advantage of a charter school arrangement. But in general, we have to know by now that charter schools are meant specifically, again, it's just like it's like the educational equivalent of buying power. If you put everything on the basis of finances and private wealth and support, Black people can never catch up. If you set it as a public charter school where private entities are getting public funding, taking that away from those who cannot afford those schools, resources that should be going to them, then it just pits again a Black bourgeoisie against a Black community, and it doesn't help anybody. And then from what I saw, the educational experience was horrific, whether it was metal detectors, whether it was standardized testing that we're officially not supposed to follow the rubrics for, but did anyway, and everything else in terms of dealing with over-oppressed, under-resourced populations where teachers are supposed to fill in every single gap. And it's just unrealistic. So anyway, Chinimacha, let me let you try again and see if any of that was what you had intended for me to speak to.
Yes. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And I wanted to one step further. One thing that's happening, it's not on just the way that they're running and functioning, but in order to keep those funds, they're actually lying about what they're doing. Like they actually change the grades, and many of them have a practice where they check in with these teachers, again, young, naive, fresh out of college, don't really have classroom management, and it's they check in with them. So if your grades aren't what they need to be to basically allow the school to keep that funding, then you're basically as a teacher having to edit and manipulate your grades. So by the time it comes towards the end, like enough students are passing, or either what they'll do is just like I worked at a school and they straight up changed half of the grades, like half of the students were failing miserably. But then they were replacing F's with A's, which averaged out to C so they could actually pass. And a lot of that, because of the way the charter schools are operating, it really is happening outside of the community, understanding that this level of diabolical, like, I don't even know what to call it, that it's happening. And then we wonder why, like so many of our youth, why they're not really reading, or they don't really have an interest, because school is this experience for them that even from generations previously, it's not education, it's just schooling and a place to house them, to track them into the prison pipeline. And it's happening. I worked where I live, there were two schools that got caught in the same year with the grades change scandal. And then the school I was at did not get caught. And they were more egregious than the two that got caught. But because they're part of a larger network, so I think there needs to be some kind of focus. I don't know, on like educate, because I feel like it's capturing our youth in ways that previously the community at least was in there. There were members of the community who were teachers, or members of the community. There was some sort of oversight, but because they're private charter schools operating with our public funds, it's happening. And I think in about 10, 15 years we're really going to see the impact of that. And I don't know. I don't have a solution, but
I don't either. I mean, you know, and by the way, this grade inflation and whatever elevation is a problem at all levels and at all schools and universities. You know, Harvard and Princeton and Yale have had their own issues with grade inflation to keep students from leaving. I mean, even I went to Baltimore Friends for 9th grade, 8th and 9th grade, elite private school, Quaker school in Baltimore, and a part of Baltimore. By the way, I've been teaching in Morgan State since 2006. And this is why I love how cities are so beautifully segregated. I've never once seen Baltimore Friends since. No, I'm sorry. One time, doing something for I drove by that part of, I think, Charles Street, wherever it is. I can't even remember where it is. But the point is, in my day-to-day life experience for 18 years, going to work in Baltimore, I've never seen Baltimore Friends. But my point is, in 9th grade, I failed out. They kicked me out because I had literal zeros. But I went to 10th grade. I didn't have to redo 9th grade. So they just want you to keep coming through. They don't care what happens next. They just want to make sure they got their money. They don't have to deal with me anymore. Send you on to the next grade, next school, next level. So anyway, Chidi Macha, was that all? Are you good?
Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And thanks for joining us. And thanks for the super chat, Tide 313. What do you think of Chancellor Williams' master plan or Dr. Amos Wilson's blueprint for Black Power? I like their analysis. Also, capitalist socialists get demagogic. We may need to mix them. The short answer is I don't honestly remember what Chancellor Williams' master plan was. I have not revisited the destruction of Black civilization in some years, so I don't remember exactly what he was calling for. And honestly, at the moment, I don't know exactly what Amos Wilson's plan was. I'm only critical of his mistaken use of the buying power concept and what I think is his mistaken reading or his limited reading of Du Bois. That's it. So I don't have a broad assessment of either of them. I don't remember their conclusions enough to speak on it, and I've been too narrowly focused on this issue of buying power for so long that I haven't, but to the extent that buying power or flawed interpretations of Du Bois are baked in, those final plans are insufficient. And ultimately, it doesn't matter how good anyone's plan is. I might have the master plan. It doesn't matter if I'm the only one doing it, or if I haven't been able to organize anyone else to join me, or if others don't take my ideas or their ideas and organize around them and make them something, which is always why my ultimate defense of Marx and his involvement with African people, because every time African people pick up Marx, they seem to do the most beautifully radical things. So, and if I was thinking, man, how provocative would I want to be? Whose ideas have had more of a radical impact on Black people, Amos Wilson or Marx? That would be provocative and petty. But my point is, that's it. So I don't know. I appreciate the super chat, but I don't know. Sith Lord Prince, thank you for joining us. Welcome. What's going on?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Live and direct, live on video, audio,
bro.
Everything. Peace.
Hey,
welcome.
Bro, real talk, bro. Like, yo, you got me through my grad school studies, bro. Like, for real. During COVID, I was really following you because I was really interested in that book, Decolonizing Dialectics, and I was trying to get some extra commentary on it. And I saw that you had an interview with Boy, and I was just like, wow, I gotta follow this nigga like forever. So like, I'm here.
Damn. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate
for real.
That.
Yeah, straight out of Cincinnati, bro. Like, yeah, like we love you out here. Like, yeah, it's great.
That's an honor on a number of levels. My father is from Cincinnati, came up in Cincinnati. So my godfather came up in Cincinnati. So
they all had to come across the river, bro, to get free, bro. Sort of. You know what I mean? So, But no, I mean, it's
Thank you.
really great, honestly, man. For real, for real. I have a whole bunch of questions, but like, I only have like really like one, but like maybe I'm having a hard time kind of like formulating it a lot. So I've been really paying a lot of attention around what you talk about with the after party kind of like thing, right? With the whole idea of how to have a political exodus of our people outside of both parties. But sometimes I be collapsing to this curiosity of like, well, what would you name that? Like for real, like the after party is cool, but I've been really kind of like leaning more in towards like this idea of like libertarian socialism a bit, where it's just like this idea of, and I think Lorenzo talks about it a lot when he talks about Black anarchism and you know and things like that. But I don't know, like I just have like a lot. I don't even know if it's like a question, like for real. I just wonder, like, it is true that we have to leave the duopoly system, right? But like, what is a really good political name, praxis, or whatever that we can kind of give it that really kind of has Marxism or socialism with Africans in the Americas like elements in it, right? Like, because we want to localize Marxism, like, you know, all the time, but like, look at where we are. Like, it's just so vastly different that, you know what I mean? I don't even know, bro. Like,
no, I hear you. First of
lot.
all, thank you very much for coming through in the kind words. It really does mean everything. I appreciate that. But I don't know. I mean, that's part of why I was just calling it the after party. I was like, it's just an idea. I don't know what to call it. I don't know. I just really all I can think to advocate is that whatever we engage should just have some core agreed upon principles and political standpoint, you know, what Glenn Ford used to call the bright lines of Black politics. So, and I just want those lines to be ever leftward. So whether it's redistributing the GDP or whatever, something like that. So in other words, what I kept thinking was, I don't care what we call it, but if we follow these platform planks, it makes it impossible or less likely to corrupt or co-opt the move. So I don't know enough about libertarian socialism. And I admit, even when we were doing the Lorenzo Irvin interview, and shout out to him, even hearing libertarian anything makes me nervous.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, I'm like that too.
I just don't know.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, but it is really interesting, right? Because I'm curious to know, like, what kind of thoughts come up for you when you read the book, you know, Black Studies by our boy Josh Myers, right? Because one of the things that he was talking about in his interview that I thought that was so fire was like, there were already people with Black Africans within the thought of liberalism that were already reimagining a politics outside of this stuff. You know, and it was something that he had mentioned at some kind of like conference or whatever. So I just wonder, like, if there were to be a Black political movement, a Black political workers' party, but that could be inclusive of African reactionaries, but like we can like tell them and educate them, like, hey, like, your concerns can really be met here. Like, we just need like some kind of like a broad spectrum, very inclusive, Black radical led workers' Black party. I don't know.
So why is what Ricky's saying off? Like, so that would be where I'm headed. Revolutionary Pan-Africanism and Nkrumah Tureism. I don't, you know, it's the same way. Like, why do we need, you know, anyway, I don't. So I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But then I know some people they recoil at the idea of being called an African or an you know, So I don't know what to call it.
Okay.
You know, again, I know I was joking, but that's why, you know, for me, the after party is so funny and yet accurate in the sense that it's saying we don't have to argue over what, because ultimately we're only advocating for some broad, bright line platform planks. So we don't have to agree at the level of revolutionary Pan-Africanism or libertarian socialism. It's just, can we agree on redistribution, no abuse of labor, whatever the platform planks are.
Okay.
And then call it whatever we want. And I just like that, because it's like who hates on an after party? Everybody wants to go to the after party.
That's
Like
that's
it's
where I
just
live.
such
Yeah,
an easy, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, that's where I live. Yeah.
I'm
All
trying
right.
to wrap this up so we can get to the after live party when it does. I'm
Sounds
just
great.
playing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know. So I don't
Sounds
know.
good. All right, cool. Well, I'm curious to know your thoughts. I'm always going to be following you anyway. So yeah, please, as you read like Black Studies, just remember your boy.
No,
Please share your thoughts. Yeah,
we're reading it. We're reading it. I've you know, I want to have Myers back on. We're reading it in 2 of my classes this semester.
Yeah.
And
so good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love what he's
Yeah.
doing, but
Yeah, it's
at
great.
the same time, I'm looking at this Joy James book that she sent, and I'm like, so the petty in me is saying, let me get the exact date. So the book is Transcending the Talented 10th. Black
That's
leaders
what we
in
read
Africa.
in our study group. Yeah, we have a Black Workers Party study group here in Cincinnati. That's what we
Word.
just read. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I haven't
man,
even
we
read
out
that
here.
yet. It came out in 97. And I've never read that.
We just finished that, and we're hoping.
So
to
is that
start,
not? So am I wrong in thinking that Myers is like a remix of what she's already done?
I'm not. No, I'm not even going.
No hate. I'm just saying. I mean, like it seems like she's already made these arguments, but in maybe a different way. I don't know. I got to keep reading.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna keep reading too because I be showing up in a different state sometimes. So yeah. But but anyways,
that's facts.
Yeah. I really appreciate this. Thanks so much for all that you do.
Hey, wait. A Black worker study group. You really doing that? Yeah, right on.
Yeah, we do that up here. It came out of we experienced the fallout after the George Floyd thing. Everything kind of collapsed into the reactionary stuff, and then I was really blessed, really, to find so many Black leftist group members that were a part of, you know, DSA and things like that. And really, a lot of our analysis really comes from a lot of what BPM really does. And we just want to learn from other communities, honestly, at the end of the day. And like the struggle is really real here. Like, you know, when it comes to, you know, home ownership, all this weird other stuff and labor. And I do a lot of like youth studies in my doctoral program. So, but no, we're out here. I mean, we're all out here. I just wish it would be like a really cool conference or something where we can like
2024. We try to work on it, man. Thank you very much, and much love to Cincinnati, man. You know, shout out to High Tech.
Don't get me going, bro. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I think you're.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. All right,
thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Right on. Oh, Danielle is back +1. What's up?
Hey,
I'm glad you're out of the car.
Thank you. Are you trying to get out of here?
Yeah, I might be. I do need to go. I'm over here chilling.
Hey, I just because I can't comment in the chat. But my thing is sometimes I feel as if that some things are over politicized, or like the way that we get into how do we fix things, how do we liberate our people. It makes me think about just like our government and politicians and how they take certain issues that we have, and as opposed to like looking at us as people, human beings that have wants, needs, and desires, they over politicize something and just make it into that, as opposed to it just being, what do these people need? And so as opposed to like having everything be so kind of like dogmatic, I feel like, in looking at socialism or capitalism or whatever the case may be, what's the first step? Like, what is it that these people need, our people need, and what's the first step to getting our needs met? And I feel like the first step is actually, for one, respecting the fact that there's going to be people with different views, different methods or ideas of how to move forward, but we still have to get these people in the room. You know, it's almost like the same idea as like when we're looking at the Republicans and the Democrats, and we're like, they're so caught up in being Republican, or they're so caught up with being Democratic or being Democrats, that they don't want to reach across the aisle. but they have an obligation to every American, just like we have an obligation to every Black person. So beyond that, I think that there is a responsibility that we have to at least, at the very least, come together. The academics, the intellectuals, and everyone from different spheres and different perspectives, and actually allow the masses of Black people to choose what they feel is in their best interest. Put the information out there. Give Black people access to what people's strategies or ideas are, and allow us to choose. But it seems as if there's more of a desire to like push one's own ideology, one's own framework, than it is to actually say, allow us, if we really truly believe we are a sovereign people, to allow a sovereign people to make the decision they feel is in their best interest. And then if it don't work, guess what? As a sovereign people, we got to accept the fact that it didn't work and go back to the drawing board, because that's what sovereign people do. We can't expect for it to be perfect, but we got to do something. And I feel that sense of urgency with having this little one here and two other little ones across the table from me right now. I don't know what life is going to look like for them in the next 5-10 years. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that sense of urgency all the time. So
First of all, I hear you and I appreciate you coming back on, and I definitely understand that when the babies come, the everything changes and the imperatives change. That's one of the reasons why I've been critical of the vague sort of do something idea. This brother I used to run around with in DC, pop up. I was critical of, of his do something hashtag, because I think it's too vague and allows for people to be corrupted and co-opted. But again, I'll end, saying to you what I was been trying to say all along, that as long as everyone is clear that whatever effort is being undertaken is itself insufficient and meant to lead us to something better, I'm down for everything. I'm only opposed to people substituting revolutionary ideas and efforts with non-revolutionary goals and conclusions. So if we acknowledge that what we're all doing is just, again, a survival program pending revolution, and focus on that we need to advance, I think we're okay. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. In general, yeah.
But we can't advance separate though.
No, that's what I'm saying. Everything has to be organized. Yeah.
Like this organization right there, and that organization right there, and that platform right there, and that platform right there, just perpetually and consistently even in their local community, just doing their own thing. Like,
listen, I think sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, that is not gonna work. Like,
no, you're right.
In our own little things, like, so when I say do something, I don't necessarily mean like anything, but as opposed to being stuck in the theoretical, and as opposed to being stuck continuously, just the theories and the theories and the theories, where's the action? If we know that individually we're not going to be able to get to all this that we're talking about right now, this future of socialism and stuff like that, we can't get there until we actually act first. So yeah.
Yes and no. I only hesitate because I acknowledge that at the end of my active involvement with the Malcolm X grassroots movements chapter in DC, my argument was, and even when we were working with Organized Community of United People, Organized Coup, shout out to them, always shout out to them. My humble 2 cents was always, I think, somewhat akin to the AAPRP. I wanted more focus on on the study and the organization building and less focus on overt action, because I thought a lot of that overt action was easily dismissible, corruptible, insufficient, and leading people to false assumptions about what our conclusions should be. But in general, other than that, in general, I agree with what you're saying, that if we're collectively working in organized fashion with a certain radical politic as the guiding light, I'm down for whatever. I mean, BPM is itself, I think, an example of that. I mean, I think we had 5,000 people on this channel, subscribers, and I barely used it. And it wasn't of more interest to me until it became a BPM collective and an organized effort to engage this space in a certain way. So now when I make jokes about being a low-level YouTuber, it's cool because it's in this context. We're not trying to do this to be another platform, another individual show, another some silly intervention or engagement with this space. It was to do what we're doing here today, which is what I think is one of the best things, most fun things I've ever done with this platform. So anyway, I hope that made sense.
Yes, it did. It did.
And shout out to you and the future revolutionary there.
Thank you.
Very pretty, very lovely.
Thank you. And I did email you, by the way. Put that out there.
When? Me?
Yeah.
I didn't respond?
You did, but
oh, it didn't go well. What'd I say? Uh-oh. What happened?
I'll link you to the email again.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Please do. And thank you.
All right. Well, take care.
All right. You too. Peace, peace, peace. Bye, baby girl. Bye. All right. Oh, man. Thanks for that, Danielle. We need to realize we are at war. Our people are mistreated, not because of race, but simply because they can. Power is what others have and we don't, and how we can change those power. How can we change those power relationships? Thank you for the super chat, Tide 313. And the real answer to that question, I don't think is a YouTube answer. It's a off the record space answer. And then I don't have the answer. So that's the other answer. I don't have the answer. So anyway, look, good people, I've loved this. We got to do this more often. This is great. I will definitely look to host one of these again. And I'm going to encourage other hosts to do versions of this themselves. I think it would be great, or for us to do it in collectives maybe. But I think it'd be great if other individual hosts did this. And I really appreciate you all coming through and raising these questions, supporting the channel. Happy anniversary to us and to you. And more to come from this show, from this platform, and hopefully from you all. So thank you very much. Like Fred Hampton used to say, peace, only if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Catch you next time. Thank you very much.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.